Coraline is a whimsically beautiful film. You might remember growing up alongside this film and being terrified of many things. The button eyes, the cobwebs, the stretching looming body of Coraline's other mother, or even just those big hunkering pumpkins. There's definitely a lot of visual horror in this film, but above all, the film carries a very sweet message alongside with it. But the message isn't beaten over your head until you go insane with complex plot points and themes. Instead, it's much more subtle and could easily go over your head as a child. This movie came out in 2009 when I was just hitting that sweet old age of a decade, and the first time I watched Coraline, I could only think of the big hunkering buttons. No deeper message was on my mind, just the horror expressed through artificial organisms, which is really just part of the message in a way. Let's quickly break down the plot. So Coraline Jones has just moved into a new house with her parents, the home being the gloriously run-down Pink Palace. We follow Coraline exploring outside. Instantly from the start, we find her bright blue hair and bouncy attitude contrast with the dark and dreary atmosphere of the muddy outdoors. She's soon frightened by a cat, but eventually stands her ground against the feline. She's attacked by Splinter Cell, who turns out to be her neighbor, Wybie. They tease each other a bit, and Wybie informs Coraline that she is holding poison oak.
I'd wear gloves next time.
Why?
'Cause that dowsing rod of yours, it's poison oak.
As Wybie leaves, Coraline examines a nearby well, and we get this sick-ass transition. We get the sound of the pebble hitting the water to transition us into the pouring rain on the other side of the window as Coraline dynamically fades back indoors. It's just so sweet. It seems Wybie has left Coraline a creepy Annabelle-looking doll with buttons for eyes. We come to find that Coraline's parents won't pay attention to her. They both seem incredibly stressed with the work they have to get done, and this is frustrating Coraline deeply. The dad suggests she explores the house, in which Coraline does. She soon comes across a curious hidden door hidden behind wallpaper in the room with the fireplace. She begs her mom to open it.
Bricks? I don't get it!
Later that night, while Coraline sleeps, she notices a stupid little mouse that she follows downstairs as it leads her to the small doorway. Yet instead of coming across more bricks, we come across a beautifully lit tunnel filled with a sense of adventure. As Coraline crawls to the other side, she finds herself back in her own house, only this time she meets her mother. Her other mother, a much more vibrant mom with buttons for eyes. Coraline goes to grab her father for dinner and finds out he's much more vibrant as well, along with having a musical talent of coming up with a song that holds some deep foreshadowing later on.
She's a peach, she's a doll, she's a pal of mine. She's as cute as a button in the eyes of everyone who ever laid their eyes on Coraline.
They have a charmingly sweet dinner. The other mother cures her poison oak rash, and she goes to sleep with a huge smile. When she wakes up, she finds herself back in her rundown version of her house and comes to find her parents are still work-stressed a-holes who won't give her the time of day. Coraline soon goes to meet her neighbors. We meet the amazing Babinski.
No!
And Miss Spink and Miss Forcible.
Oh, give me that cup, April. Your eyes are going.
My eyes? You're blind as a bat!
Coraline soon goes back through the door that night, and the other mother does her best to impress Coraline by creating this beautiful world full of charming delights and fantasy. We also find out that the other version of Wybie exists who can't speak, and there are also other versions of the neighbors. The next day, Coraline tells her mother all about this world, but the mom, of course, does not believe any of it. Now, this time Coraline visits the other mother, things get a little sinister. The cat turns out to be able to speak in this world and tells her not to believe any of this.
You probably think this world is a dream come true, but you're wrong.
And after getting an extravagant show featuring the hunkering pumpkins, the other mother offers Coraline to stay as long as she gets buttons for eyes. But of course she's like, the fuck kind of fine print is this? And runs away terrified. She soon walks into the void and finds out the only way to go back home is to confront the other mother. This leads the other mother to go all Elastigirl and stretch her shit to some angel hair noodles. She then throws Coraline in a mirror, and we learn of other children that were fooled into staying with the other mother. Wybie soon saves Coraline from the mirror, and we see he has been forced to have an artificial smile. YB helps her escape and she returns to the real world, but all is not fine and dandy yet, as we learn that the parents are apparently captured and being held hostage back in the other mother's world, leading to Coraline to go rescue them along with setting free the souls of the children she met in the mirror. She goes through 3 trials to set the souls free, and cleverly battles against the other mother in order to save her parents and escape. In the process, she sacrifices the cat, but that doesn't matter because they all live in the end. But she's not completely free yet. She has to get rid of the key that opens the door, but it turns out the other mother's hand made it through, so YB helps battle it out, and along down the well, all of it goes. Soon Coraline's parents have more free time and begin to garden, and seem generally more cheerful and happier, and everyone hangs out in the end, and it's a happy ending. Now let's talk about why Coraline works. See, in an age where every single animated movie strictly panders to the lowest common denominators, with bright, flashy animation and marketing agent-approved adorable things, it's good to remember stories that were grounded and felt personal. Sure, there are a few exceptions to animated movies today that show hard work and dedication to the craft as a whole, but for the most part, the animated movies we get now constantly beat over your head these superficial stories that have no meaning whatsoever. Stories that drive the idea that family matters into your head with no ounce of subtlety or deep relation. Everything just feels more artificial than the stupid-ass trees in the Lorax. Now contrast this to Coraline from 2009, a story completely fixed on telling its tale as personal and grounded as possible. In a movie where everything is handcrafted and made to be in the movie, it's fantastic to find how organic all of it feels. And this all comes into play with the horror. The film's very first shots actually play like a memory book greeted with a metallic artificial claw handcrafting something itself. While the visuals are quite uneasy and creepy, the tone and the music is bright and whimsical. And from that point on, everything in the story is Coraline's point of view. The fantasy world she travels to is strictly told from her experiences, and it becomes very easy to believe everything that happened is real. But honestly, it probably isn't. You see, Coraline's parents from the start of the film are obsessed with work. They barely give her the time of day, and it's clear Coraline uses this fantasy world as an escape to imagine a world full of love and joy. Everything that annoys her and bugs her in the real world is flipped on its head and made to be perfect in the other world. In this world, anything can be changed and artificially tampered with to provide the most pleasurable outcome. But we soon come to learn that, of course, all of this is still artificial.
Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad.
Rather than directly showing us Coraline's way to deal with anything that annoys her and frightens her in the real world, we dive into a fantasy world she uses to cope with it all. It's the biggest way to show an adolescent imagination, even though we don't really find out it's all imagination, because you know there are exceptions to what I'm saying, like YB fighting the hand towards the ending and Babinski discussing the mice with Coraline, but in a way that could still just be Coraline's imagination wrapping things up. When Coraline's parents are supposedly trapped in the other world in a snowy globe, the only way to save them is for Coraline to grab the globe in the other world and escape with it, but once she arrives back in the real world, the only globe we see is a broken one on top of the fireplace, soon followed up by the parents walking in from snow falling outside, meaning they were just somewhere else outside. This is why I believe Coraline's story is simply just how she is dealing with her parents always being busy, and once they completed their work, she spends time with them in the real world and the other world is no more. But the reason this movie works isn't just the story. The absolutely beautiful attention to detail in every scene is so stunning to witness. I mean, look at these yummy visuals. But on top of that, the movie contains outstanding transitions. I mean, that's hard to do in real life, and these dudes just did it in grueling stop-motion animation. The horror of the movie adds layers to the story as well. Since everything is made out to be whimsical and beautiful, it's incredibly shocking when things start to take a turn towards sinister, whether it be the incredibly terrifying design of the button eyes, that start out as a charming detail only to dive into a metaphor for selling your soul to a devilish bitch, or the amazing transition where the mother taps her artificial eyes that stay as a chilling way to scare us when she suddenly disappears and the same noise comes from the faucet.
Fine, don't tell me. It's a deal.
Most times we see horrific visuals, the colors are still bright, which definitely conflicts with the idea that everything that we're believed to be made is horror is dark. Most of the time, the horror isn't really playing to the idea that everything is shrouded in dark mystery. Instead, it's incredibly bright lighting directly in your face. Yet, like I said earlier, it still all feels personal. Staying on Coraline's point of view the whole time works wonders into conveying the whole subtlety of the story, yet still shows us there's an understanding to the point of it all. Coraline is beautiful, and being able to have this movie as a part of my adolescence was an incredible gift. Too many animated movies feel like nothing but a pure marketing product now. While they are still amazing gems today, it's rare to find something that shocked the foundations of a child as much as Coraline did growing up for many. And the best part of the movie is those damn pumpkins!